Let's bring in our guest to discuss this. Joining us now this hour, National Trial Attorney Michael Jaafar is with us. Michael, I know we've been talking about the defense, but let's start with the state, the one who has the burden in this case. This jury is taking in everything, they're deliberating, and during closing arguments, they talked about community and those confessions. I really think those were the themes. They focused on the emotion of this case, how this was such a tragic moment for this community, and they said, look, he confessed to this several times. Your thought on if those are the two strong points that they have?
I'm glad you asked that. I'm very passionate about this topic. Anyone who knows anything about my background and looks at, false confessions and defending people with false confessions, I'm very passionate about this, Julia. I'm riveted by this case. I'm riveted to see the results of this case. For me, it gets deeper than this, right? Clearly, the confessions were troubled. I don't think anybody, I'm not saying Richard Allen didn't do this. I'm not saying he did do it, right? The jury's going to tell us whether or not he did it or didn't do it. But what I think we can pretty much all agree on is the confessions are complete garbage. They cannot be relied on, right? He confessed to crimes that didn't even happen. I know for a fact that many, I don't know millions, but thousands and thousands of confessions are faulty. They're wrong. They've been proven later on. A lot of the people, when DNA evidence, for example, was introduced, in the late 20th century, right? Many people who had confessed were exonerated because the DNA evidence was tested in their case and they had nothing to do with the crime. So people who are watching need to know, just because somebody confesses to a crime does not mean they committed the crime. It's perverse. It's deep, it's psychological. There's a psychological need to get home and get out of the custody of the police where you are promised, and I'm not even saying police do anything wrong. I'm just saying there's a dynamic that exists. If you are in a car and you are drowning, you're going to panic. Panicking is bad, but you're going to panic anyway. If you don't panic when you're drowning, you have a higher chance of succeeding, of surviving, but you panic anyway. It's a human nature. It's also human nature to confess. Sometimes confessions are real, but sometimes confessions are not real, and you have a human psychological need sometimes to confess to get out of the custody of the police, right? Richard Allen, this is to the nth degree. He confessed, I think you said close to 60 times, over 60 times. I did not know it was that much. I know he had dozens of false confessions of crimes that didn't happen. So I'm riveted by this case. And one more thing, I'm very disappointed by the court for not letting the public see this case. Unlike many cases, this case was very important for society to see. Very important, especially the history of this case leading up to the trial, and then you don't let the public see this case. To me, that was completely awful. If I ever see this judge at some sort of a conference and I have the chance to talk, I'll tell her it was a mistake. Society needed to see this case. We have this big ability to deter future conduct, because of the facts in this case. Forget the confessions, just the remoteness of him being on that bridge and being on camera on that bridge. Imagine other people knowing that, hey, this person was convicted and he was on a remote bridge in a remote area, right? The bridge itself was remote and the area was remote. Even McDonald's in that area would have been remote, but this guy was in a remote abandoned bridge and he was on camera. The deterrence ability for that is massive. So I think it was a major mistake. I'm passionate about this case. I'm riveted to see the jury. I'm proud of this jury for not coming back for a verdict on the first day. I thought they'd come back with a verdict in day one of deliberation, but they've already gone longer than I thought they would. I'm proud of them. They're clearly doing their homework. They're clearly conflicted. So I'm riveted to see what happens.
Michael, I want to react to what you mentioned about confessions, because I think one thing a typical juror may struggle with is why would someone confess? And this is not what we see as a standard false confession situation, because he was not being interrogated. He denied it all through the interrogations. It's once he was behind bars, once he was talking to his own psychiatrist, once he was on the phone with his family and friends, that's when those confessions came out.